I finally did it. I finally completed one of my bucket list items. Before I die, I need to go to a WrestleMania. And I finally did it. My first WrestleMania 41. And of course, it ends up turning out to becoming one of the more controversial WrestleManias of all time. Because of course it does. That's my luck. That's the story of my life. But I had a blast. Obviously, I was there live, so my experience is a wee bit different from all the pundits, all the critics, and fans alike that may not have been there in attendance. It's always going to be different when you're there live, because I had a great time. Everyone in my section was fun. I met some cool people. But with that said, I mean, I'll be the first to say it. Night one was a pretty mid show, in all honesty, and even being there live, you know, we got a lot of criticism for being quiet. That's one thing I heard. A lot of chatter on Twitter and Reddit. People saying, "Oh, you know, the fans in Las Vegas, they're not loud. They're kind of boring. They're not really into it." And my thing is this, man. First of all, we spent a lot of fucking money, dog. Okay, that's one thing I commented. A raging girl gamer. I said, "Hey, man, we had to sell our souls to be there. That's why we're quiet." You know what I mean? It was very expensive, and I mean, between, you know, the Las Vegas life, man. You're gonna be in Vegas. You gotta play the slots. You gotta gamble a little bit. You gotta have fun. And well, that's exactly what we did. You know, we hit the casinos, and, you know, won some money, lost a lot of money, and, you know, staying 5 days in a hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. You're gonna eat every day because, you know, you have to eat. You have to do human shit, and you're spending money on food and drinks and slot machines and, you know, M&Ms and whatever else. Fat Tuesday. The money is gonna go pretty quick. Then we get to WrestleMania, and it's like, holy shit, you know. I bought my tickets very last minute too, which I highly recommend anybody going to a WrestleMania in particular. Any big event, really, buy last minute. Don't ever try to buy in advance. Buy the last minute tickets from third parties, and you'll get very good deals. I got 2 floor seat tickets, okay, right by the ramp. I wasn't one of the people by the ramp, but I was a few rows back. But I got 2 floor seat tickets for $288 each per ticket, and that's not including fees though. After fees and everything, the tickets wound up being, well, I'm not gonna disclose that, but they still ended up being pretty pricey, but nowhere near as pricey as they would have been had I bought the tickets, like, you know, a month, 2 months in advance or something. You know, when they were going for, like, you know, $3,000 easily per ticket, you know, $2,000, $1,700 per ticket, you know. I spent $288 per ticket. So I was there. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, night one was mediocre, man. It was very mediocre, and I did notice that the crowd was pretty silent during night one up until the main event. There was a few outliers, of course, you know. I think Chad Gable, El Grande Americano, Rey Fenix. I was very disappointed I didn't get to see Rey Mysterio. But happy for Rey Fenix. He got his WrestleMania moment, even though it was a losing effort. That was one of the louder matches that I can remember, especially like the people in my section. We were talking shit about the entrances and whatnot, you know, disrespectful entrance on the part of El Grande Americano. I'm digging it. They're gonna do something with that guy. They're gonna unmask him and embarrass him later on. But that main event of night one, it's already being touted as perhaps the best triple threat match in the history of WWE. I've even heard some people say that's the best triple threat match in the history of professional wrestling in general. And I wouldn't argue anybody. That Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk match was exhilarating. That's the best way I could describe it. It was exhilarating, man. It was like being on a roller coaster ride at a theme park. That's how that match felt. There's so many ups and downs and twists and turns. And, you know, I predicted the right outcome. I knew Seth Rollins was going to win the match. I knew it just because the dude deserves it. He's been taking too many L's. CM Punk's already beat him multiple times. Roman Reigns has already beat him multiple times. So I you know, 2 + 2 = 4, man. Do the math. This is Seth Rollins' moment. Let him have his moment. I did not predict Paul Heyman to turn the way he did on both Punk and Reigns like that. I did not expect that. I could kind of have seen him siding with Roman again, my tribal chief, blah, 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 but I did not expect him to double cross both CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So that definitely hit me. That hit pretty good. I was like, wow, that was cool to see live too. Phenomenal match. That was the best match of the entire show, in both nights included. Although the opening match of night 2 with the women's triple threat, that's a very, very, very close number 2. But that Roman, Seth, and CM Punk match, that was the match of both nights. That was an incredible, exhilarating, off-the-wall match that I'll never forget. I'm happy that I was there live to see that. That was awesome. But moving on to night 2 is the complete opposite of night 1, where the whole card is a banger, you know, from top to bottom, except when we get to the main event. The ending of the main event, you know, nobody was expecting Cody versus Cena to be like, you know, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold, which got nominated for the Hall of Fame. It was inducted into the Hall of Fame as a immortal moment, as they're calling it. But, you know, nobody expected Cody and Cena to be a masterclass in professional wrestling, okay? We knew what it was going to be, and we were fine with that, but the ending did leave us feeling kind of underwhelmed. It felt kind of flat. Everybody and their mom was expecting The Rock. The moment Travis Scott's music hit and he came out, I knew The Rock wasn't coming out. They give us Travis Scott instead, a non-wrestler, pretty mediocre rapper, and he's the one who helps John Cena to capture number 17. Controversial is an understatement. That's one of the worst booking decisions I've ever seen. It's one of the worst outcomes for a WrestleMania main event that I've ever seen. And I was there live for it. Because of course I was. I had a great time, man. Look, I'm not gonna just completely shit all over night 2's main event, you know, because that's not fair to everybody else. Dominic Mysterio was probably the funnest moment, one of the funnest moments of night 2. To hear the pop that he got when he won the IC championship. It's funny because I was the only one. Again, I was the only one picking Dominic Mysterio to win. And I said it to the people in my section on the floor. I was like, hey, man, you know, if Dominic wins, I ain't even gonna be mad, bro. Because everybody was picking Penta. Everybody in my in my section anyway was picking Penta to win. I said, if Dom wins, I ain't even gonna be mad, bro. You know, that's who I'm picking. And Dom won the title, and the only thing I got wrong was I thought I was going to be the only one marking out for a Dom title win. I was wrong about that. Everybody marked out. He got a big pop when he won the title, man. And that's a beautiful thing to see. When you see a young kid like Dom, man, you know, a youngster, you know, a young kid in the grand scheme. I know he's like, what, 26 years old now, 27, I don't know, but you know, when you see a young talent finally, you know, get some gold around his waist, you know, after paying his dues, you know, all the things he did when he first came in, he was just a little nerdy looking kid, Rey Mysterio's kid, and he grew out his hair. He's got that mullet, that Eddie Guerrero classic WCW mullet now, and he's coming into his own, and we've seen that in night 2. In that title win, and it was very cool. It was very cool to see that, and I'm very surprised that the audience popped for Dom winning the title like that. It's so much so that as he was walking away, walking back up the ramp, he did an impromptu re-celebration. He ran back into the ring, you know, and celebrated again because he was just soaking it all in. That's what you do. He was soaking it all in, all the adoration. He had arrived. So that was cool to see. So much has already been said about the opening match of night 2. The women killed it, man. Bianca Belair, I liked her entrance. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. You know, the chemistry between all three of these ladies, second to none in women's wrestling. Second to none. I liken it to Toni Storm and Mariah May. That's a close contender. They have very good chemistry. But the chemistry between Rhea, Bianca, and Io, for it being a triple threat match too, you know, 3-ways are not easy to pull off. But they did it. They did a great one. It was one of the better matches of both nights, quite frankly. And I called that one as well. I knew Io was gonna retain because once again, I feel like just like with Punk, Rollins, and Roman, Rollins was kind of the guy that was being pushed to the side in favor of the bigger stars. So it would make more sense for him to come behind winning. Well, I looked at Io Sky in a similar fashion. Everybody's focused in on Rhea and Bianca. That's the match everyone wants to see. While Io is like kind of being pushed to the side, like, you know, let the adults talk, kid. You know, that type of thing. So, you know, she wins from behind, just like that, because everyone's focused on Bianca and Rhea. But she didn't get like a cheap win. I don't remember exactly how she won, but I know that she had a fantastic performance, man. Like, she had a great night. Io did. I mean, she always does. She's not a bad worker by any means. She's one of the best women's wrestlers they have on the roster. And then you add Rhea and Bianca to the mix, and it's a certified banger. It was a fun match. It was a very, very fun match. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, they had a little brawl, an anything goes match, and the main takeaway from it is their entrances. That's the main highlight, is their entrance. They had some awesome entrances. The match was great too, don't get me wrong, but the entrances were really cool. I had no idea what the Drew McIntyre prop was that was on the stage. Of now hindsight's 2020. Now that, you know, I've gone on X and I've you know, talked about the event with other people, now I know it was in promotion for the upcoming Doom game. That makes sense. But Damian Priest's entrance, you know, I thought Drew McIntyre was gonna take away entrance of the night, you know, at least between those two. But then Damian Priest came out. You know, he had a guitarist from the band Slayer playing out his theme song, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome, dude. Damian Priest, in his entrance at least, he looks larger than life. Like, he really should be pushed more, honestly. They tried to. They did try to. They gave him the title and everything. I forgot about that, but I'm just saying, Damian Priest's entrance, man, like his theme song and his swag, the way he walks out, his outfit, you know, his get up. He passes the airport test. You know what I mean? You see him walk through an airport, you're gonna tell yourself, that's a somebody, you know, even if you don't know who he is, like, that's a somebody. His entrance is freaking great. Absolutely great. And, you know, the guitarist slaying, pun intended. And the match itself was fun. It was a good match. It was a very good match. The Logan Paul AJ Styles match was probably the quietest match of the night. That's the match that we all kind of, at least I know, speaking for myself, I really took a breather and just started chilling. Everybody got quiet for that match. You know, AJ Styles, as phenomenal as he is, you know, working in the ring as a wrestler, his performances, you know, he's never truly had his WrestleMania moment, whether it be an actual moment itself or a match. Like, you know, we thought he was gonna have a banger with Shinsuke Nakamura, you know, several years back. I don't remember what WrestleMania that was. I want to say it was 34 or something, when he He was booked against Shinsuke Nakamura, a guy that he tore down the Tokyo Dome with. And then at WrestleMania, it was just underwhelming, man. It fell flat. And that's been a consistent theme with AJ Styles, I'm noticing. It's like every time he's booked at WrestleMania, you think it's going to be a banger of a match. And it ends up kind of falling flat, in all honesty. The only real memorable thing about AJ Styles and WrestleMania is the cinematic match he had with Undertaker. The Boneyard, whatever match. That's the only memorable thing that he's ever done at WrestleMania, which is quite surprising because he's, one of the best wrestlers on the planet and one of the best wrestlers of all time. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Maybe WrestleMania is just one of those, like boogeyman type of situations where he just doesn't perform well at WrestleMania for whatever reason. It kind of reminds me of soccer. Like, you have some soccer players who they perform like fucking legends with their clubs, but then when they're called up to the big stage to perform with their nation at a World Cup or something, they look like scrubs. They look like amateurs. Like, why can't you do what you do at your club for your national team? So that's what the situation with AJ Styles reminds me of. He puts on some bangers on Raw and SmackDown, but at WrestleMania, he just, I don't know, man. His matches just don't pan out. And you would think, once again, just like the Nakamura match, with Logan Paul, who's quickly proven to be absolutely great at what he does. You would think him and AJ Styles would have tore the house down, but it was one of the quieter moments of the night. Being there live, you could hear a pin drop. It got very quiet, unfortunately. I want to talk about the Stone Cold Steve Austin fiasco for a minute, because when I heard that glass shatter and Stone Cold's music hit, man, I just popped out of my seat like if a gunshot went off and we all got to run and evacuate out the building. Except I wasn't running out the building. I was running towards the stage because I wanted to get a good camera angle of Stone Cold strutting to the ring, man. But as it turns out, this was one of those occasions where he decided to hit the ring in his ATV instead of, a traditional ring walk, which, after what happened, hindsight's 2020, I'm sure he probably wishes he would have just did a traditional ring walk instead of coming out on that ATV. So apparently, and it all makes sense now, because I remember when Stone Cold's music hit, I was standing there, recording the stage, just waiting for him, and Stone Cold never takes long to hit the ring. He's not like Goldberg or Undertaker or somebody like that who kind of takes a while to come out and keeps the fans waiting, for the big moment. Like, once his music hit, he's right out there. He's already strutting to the ring, to his music. And I was wondering what was going on, because I had my camera fixated on the stage. No Stone Cold Steve Austin in sight. And now, of course, I come to find that the dude missed the stage and ran into the side of the ramp on the opposite side. I did not see it. I had no clue what was going on. I didn't see it. I had no idea what was happening. Of course, he had to be helped. I think Austin had a couple of brewskis, Steve Weisers before he even made this entrance, quite frankly. But so they have to help him out, and of course, eventually he gets on the ramp. He's on the top of the ramp. Then he just speeds down, having a blast, having the time of his life. I was having the time of my life recording him. He goes around the ring. And another thing, I didn't even notice this while I was there live. I didn't even notice this, but apparently he actually crashed into the barricade. $30,000 seats, ladies and gentlemen, between night 1 and night 2. He crashes into the barricade. Some woman wearing a Cody Rhodes jacket, nightmare jacket. She just, late reaction. He crashes into the barricade. She looks at him, and then she just tosses herself on the ground like if she got shot, John F. Kennedy style. And And Stone Cold is just standing there like, oops. And of course, he goes over to the poor lady. And poor lady, she ain't gonna be poor for very much longer. He goes over to the lady, shakes her hand, whatever. She gives him a little death stare. And then he goes in the ring and does his shit and announces the attendance, the record-breaking attendance for WrestleMania, as they always do every year for the WrestleManias. And it's just funny to me because I had no idea what was going on when I was there live. I didn't know anything about him hitting. I didn't even realize he crashed his ATV before he even hit the stage, apparently. I didn't even know that. I was on the other side. The fans on the opposite side of the stadium that were on floor level, they seen all of that. And so I'm actually kind of glad that I wasn't on that side because, I don't want to see Austin crashing like that, man, and looking silly. I want to see the badass Stone Cold Steve Austin that I grew up with. But it's just funny to me because, again, just soaking it all in. Everything's different when you're there live and in person. And then when you go back home and you see this shit on Twitter or whatever, and you're like, what? I don't remember any of that happening. But it's funny, man, because that chick, Nightmare Woman, whatever they're calling her now, she was trending because there was also another news piece on her. She recorded a meet and greet she had with Randy Orton backstage, and she told him, we spent $30,000 for our seats. And Randy Orton literally looked at her, looked away, and was like, wow, that's embarrassing. And I don't know if he meant that's embarrassing, like, damn, that's embarrassing that my company is charging that much for tickets, man, that's outrageous. Or if he meant like, wow, that's embarrassing, you really spent $30,000 of your hard-earned money on this shit. Wow, okay. I don't know what he meant, but either way, that was very telling. Because yes, these ticket prices are absolutely outrageous. I got a good deal on my tickets, but these are still outrageous prices. Even the prices that I paid for my tickets are still ridiculous. I remember back in the day, man, ticket prices were like, $40, $60. At most, $200 was considered pricey back in the day. $200 was considered pricey back in the day. Like, damn, those are the good seats. Like $200, $300, $400 to be on the floor, dog. Those are the good seats. We are a long ways from that point in time, let me tell you. This lady spent $30,000 so she can see Stone Cold crash into the barricade and toss herself on the floor like if she got shot, John F. Kennedy style. And, she's probably going to get those $30,000 back. Because, in all likelihood, she's going to file a lawsuit. I don't know, it remains to be seen. Apparently, the famous green shirt guy fan, apparently he was a victim of an assault by CM Punk and at a live show, and that's why you see him at all the events, because he's been getting the bag from WWE ever since. So we could have a similar situation with this lady. Of course, again, it remains to be seen. But all in all, shenanigans aside, terrible main event ending aside, I had a blast, man. And I'm happy I got to witness history. John Cena winning number 17. It's gonna go down, man. And that's something that I'm proud to say I was there live at, even though it was kind of underwhelming the way that it ended. It's a funny thing that went around on Twitter the other night. I saw somebody posted a picture of Ric Flair, when he was in AEW, and they were like, if Tony Khan really wanted to be petty, they could have Ric Flair win the AEW title. That would be number 17. And it would completely stump John Cena's moment, WWE's moment, of making history yet again. That would be, man, you know what? Call me what you will. I would start watching AEW again, man, if they put the title on Ric Flair. Fuck it. I'd rather it be on Ric Flair right now than on Jon Moxley. That's all I'm going to say. Lalo THR.